This is my response to some predictable outrage over my posting some relatively recent pictures of me in neon that I thought would be useful for a rallying call, really. A very important turning point that was belittled, as I expected, by several other women. I've made videos about this before, how this happens the moment you become a tall poppy, an individual. They say, oh, you're typecast in this, you're a survivor, you're talking about these sort of social issues, we can't allow you to step out of that zone. It's a very sad perspective, but it's one I've encountered. Karen Danzak, was flaunting her cleavage and, received some attacks, quite a lot of attacks. And they denounce you as a person just because of how you present your sensuality. Well, sensuality is under attack today, normal sensuality. It's been robbed by the trans agenda, feminists trying to screw down, out of jealousy, and this is what I've experienced, this is why I resent it. When a female comes the big evil nun with me, you must button up, and not express yourself. It's not yours to own, it's dangerous, is what I was being told. Well, I've done it before and I've had no danger. I tend to do this, step out of my zone, comfort zone every year or so, really, and put pictures out there, and it hasn't lessened me, cheapened me as a person. Hasn't put me in any danger. I'm quite old enough to know how to express myself artistically. I'm a creative person. I like the image and I like archetype, and I've been lucky enough to have been appreciated and appreciating others for their archetypal classicalness, which is under attack, even to the degree of humour these days. Even the old Benny Hill stuff that was, not my favourite, Carry On maybe, humour, has been removed, and that was healthy. That's like a reproductive signal. It's frivolous, it's expression, and and now everything has become so perverted, and people can't even tell the difference when they're in this fight against the cultural Marxist perversion that's at large today, what should be attacked and what should not be. And women expressing themselves when they're not the favoured identity anymore. I mean, let's face it, we survivors aren't. I think we need to up our game. On the day when I spoke at Downing Street about child abuse, I was wearing my wedding dress because it was symbolic to me of my past, really. I was sort of wedded to lies, quite literally. You have to read my book, An Oath to Hell, to know what I mean by that. The abuse I suffered was mostly, I believe, to do with repression, with what happened to me afterwards. And I've met lots of these silly people now, even some of them jumping up as campaigners, who say, quash it, keep it down, because they're trying to play the mother figure. I was just like you, once. This is degrading yourself, and no, it's not. No, it's not. You degrade yourself when you become a product that has no meaning, as the globalists are trying to do. I'm doing this for a meaning. It's within my own hands, a cause that I choose to promote sometimes with image. I'm not being exploited by anybody. Being patted on the head like that should really just make me laugh. But you see, the thing is, this is what parents do with an abused child. This is what the state does, the so-called damaged woman, as they try to with Diana. We're not. We're free to express ourselves, and it's only very strange, insecure women who feel threatened by it. And I suggest, instead of moralising, maybe just look away. It's really not meant for you, to be quite honest. So I hope I've managed to clear up a few points about what upset me, about the way certain identity groups, and I've never considered the survivor group to be an identity group. That's what made it so good. But the mistake that they make is trying to make it into a uniform little Marxist army where you can promote the people. I mean, Michael Taranga was promoted to the hilt, and several people have been, by John Wedger, who is now finding that they're not loyal and they're not properly representing him, because they try to use people as, within a cause that you can pat on the head, and they mustn't shift direction and they mustn't have their own views. I found this with radio presenters. Tony Gosling did the same to me when I wasn't following the pattern that he expected from me, and he thought, I was dispensable. I was only somebody to be used for radio shows for when he wanted things to be said. So no, I was talking about Tommy, and it got, I wasn't defending him as such. We don't really like Tommy, but on the other hand, what the police did was completely out of order, and it represents what happened to a lot of us, being oppressed and not allowed to speak out. So what I'm saying is, this horrible Marxist empire which is now looming cannot be fought by choosing people to keep in line with causes that you can pat on the head. You've got to get some people out there, you know, bigger hitters, people the establishment can understand speaking in their own language. I mean, myself, I understand repression. I understand socialist repression of the type I've just described, where they want to use you like a pawn. And I understand the upper class repression, you know, been to school, maybe been abused, and, you know, no sympathy for it, stiff up a lip, because to talk about it would be the same sort of thing. It would be damaged, wouldn't it? Be stepping out of line. So what we need is people who step out of line like myself, because I would rather do that now and do what I did last night, talking about standing on the shores of the sea, you know, represent how I feel and what I've come to learn personally through not being in one of these groups, through being an outsider from it, having a different view, than be, you know, at the mercy of either our public school repressed government, British Marxists who want to pat me on the head, and, you know, I won't be any use to them anyway. Neither of the groups will use me. So I'd stand on the beach and say, look, I would rather, among this chaos and mess that has become Britain, with this repression, with this hatred of tall poppies or individuality, true individuality, that you didn't bring people in here, nothing to do with their origin, that are to replace those peculiar norms and weaken and oppress further the poor people who are living here, who can hardly survive and get their needs met. So I will stand on the beach looking, facing towards France. It's not somebody who's asking me, who is it you're trying to hurt and harm, poor innocent people. No, I'm just looking out to France as any normal person would, individual, thinker, and say, hold on, this boundary, the boundaries have been crossed. And symbolically looking over to the channel of an island seems the best way to symbolise this. If I do it in a neon bikini with a high-vis vest, I don't expect to be knocked by team members, even if they are female and feeling rivalrous, either in their sanctity or for any other reason that I may have transgressed. Because what we are dealing with is far, far bigger than that. And I would rather not heap up even more chaos in this country by people who don't know our ways. And, you know, that are coming to these shores when they can't even handle the rape of children and the abuse and the lack of housing that we already have here. Now that is just degrading beyond anything that's acceptable, okay? So I wanted to make a stand, and if people wanted to object to the way I did it, well, come up with a better idea, not one of your silly, frightened, perpetual, you know, insecure child afraid of men way of doing it, because there's nothing to be afraid of basically of most of the men here. Some of the authorities and various groups maybe, but, you know, there's nothing really to be afraid of. Look back to the 70s and the 80s and the free flow of comedy and sensuality and the things that I can have in my living memory, seen on TV and witnessed, things to inspire people, because there is a huge attack on the archetype these days, either by other women attacking other women, because, you know, times are hard and we don't know how to fight this. But I just explained to you this sort of solidarity, keeping heads down, and a stiff upper lip solidarity. The people like, you know, Gove or whatever, Gove, and, you know, Boris, they're at two different camps now, and they're separating in two. Both of them hate the individual and they want to repress. So both of our political systems and ways of thinking have failed. I don't think we need to import any other chaos right now. And I would stand there and do it symbolically in any way that I thought could create some movement. So I hope you bear with me, people, whether I'm looking less glamorous or more glamorous, and accept me for as a human being. Okay, thanks.